a certified financial planner, a business coach. Um, I think money does not buy happiness, but it solves most of your problems. So it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Hi. Oh,
Yeah, go ahead, Rose.
oh. My name is Rose Apollon. It is truly by the grace that I am the president of Liberation of Self. Liberation of Self stands for two things. I teach others how to be empowered with all the tools that they need to be financially free. But then at the same time, I actually teach them how to be themselves. We're living in a country where identity is one of our biggest problems. So I teach people how to play the money game and actually win. Jason?
So I don't know if this is on or not.
It's
Hear
on.
it? All right. So I'm Jason Halliburton, originally from Brooklyn, New York. I'm a senior vice president at Merrill Lynch. We have about 70 families across the United States, ranging from a good friend of mine who just started his own startup, so he has about half a million with us, and our largest client has about $240 million with us. Running that practice, we kind of focus on Black wealth, Black excellence, and Black legacy. Funny enough, I was featured in Forbes in December of 2002, and just seeing the disparity between our Hispanic and our white counterparts and those in the Black community is very important that we understand how money works. So looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, definitely. One of the questions that I have, and we kind of discussed when we got together as a group to discuss this session here, is knowing that we need education. We have a coach here who coach you, and we have a professional here who's studying Black community members who perhaps are looking, who needs a financial advisors. Why is it that so many in our community, and in either one of you can kind of tackle this question? Why is it that so many of us do not have a financial, are not working with a financial professional? James?
Well, because we're never taught to use professional for anything. In our culture, it's always about our friends,
Mm-hmm.
family members,
Yeah.
and we never realize that for every area of life that there are professionals and there's a science to it. And if we want to make improvement, we need to reach out to those who know.
Yeah.
And you'll see it not just in our financial situation, you'll see parenting. We will struggle to try to learn how to parent from what we learned from our parents. We will try to deal with our relationship from friends who give us advice. And the result is always disaster or not excellence.
Yeah.
So us is what it is. So I think as a people, we need to start learning. And this is part of what we were discussing earlier, is
Mhm.
until we have mastery and understanding how it works, and for us to apply, we will struggle. So I think it's time for us to start educating our people now to know when you need to know how money works, you need to work with the professionals and learn the right way, and so that you can actually get success and reach excellence. So
So you're
it's
saying do not spend too much time listening to your brother-in-law and the cousin or the family member, the uncle who thinks he knows everything, right?
I mean, you wouldn't let them operate on your heart.
Yes.
You wouldn't let them do surgery on you. So when you need surgery, you go to a surgeon.
Yeah.
When you need financial advice, you ought to go to a financial professional, not your mom, not your dad, not your friend who's struggling herself. They just not able to give you this kind of, and
Yeah.
that's a big problem we have in our community.
Now, listen, I used to work for Edward Jones, and Edward Jones, similar to Merrill Lynch. I know so many folks I've talked to in the past that said, you know what, I don't have enough asset for a financial advisor from Merrill Lynch, or I don't have enough, I cannot afford. What do you say about that?
All right, can you guys hear me? Because I don't think I can hear you even hear myself. But hear me? So here's one thing that I'll say. The minimum to become a client of mine is $1 million. Become a client
Mhm.
of my team. Um, but if you and you're looking to get to that level, you got to start somewhere.
Mhm.
You have to start somewhere. And I'll tell you a quick story. So I had two families that I spoke to within the span of a week. Um, the white family, the Caucasian family, um, the father was at home, stayed home with the three kids. The wife made between 700,000 to about 2 million a year. They lived in a house that was only 350,000. He drove a Jeep. She drove a Toyota. Okay. They had saved up north of $700,000. Okay. And he wasn't working. Now I had a black family that came and sat down with me. They made about the same amount, from 700,000 to $1.5 million a year. He drove a Porsche. She drove a G wagon, and they both worked. But when they brought their assets to me, they only had $120,000 in assets.
Mm.
They lived. Their home was about $3 million.
Wow.
Okay. Unfortunately, they couldn't become clients of mine. The Caucasian family could become clients.
Yeah.
Why? Because we have a spending problem. We have a spending problem. And not only do we have a spending problem, but this room should be packed. But we have an information problem as well,
Yeah.
right? I'll tell you this. I'm 43 years old. My family's from Jamaica. My father and my mother came here illegally. My mother cleaned white folks' homes, and my dad was a construction worker in New York. I'm the first one to go to college in my family. But it's how do you take that information and digest it and you act on it,
Come on.
right? I think as a community, right, we have an issue with that. So it's not about, hey, Jason, oh, you only take clients a million plus. It's no, the $1,000 that you have or the $5,000 that you have that you want to go and spend, you take instead of taking that 5,000 and spend, you take some of that money and you invest, and then you take that information and you continue to run it.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Jason, because in our conversations, we talked about some of the barriers, but also definitely there are great reasons to have a financial advisor. And listening to Jason, you hear that you need to have a trusted advisor, someone who can some at times hold your hands so that you can stay on the right trajectory. What are some of the other reasons that we talked about, Rose, as to why some of the benefits? We talked about three good reasons to work with a financial advisor. Can you kind of share that with us?
Well, realistically, financial literacy starts at home.
Mhm.
If anybody in this room had the opportunity to read Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? You will see that financial literacy starts at home. So, as an immigrant, by the grace, by the time I was 7 years old, my dad ended up being a single father. I was blessed at 10 years old. Matter of fact, on our way coming to the United States, my dad sat us, me and my little sister, at the airport, and he said, I'm going to bring you somewhere. It's not your home. Go there, add values to yourself, and then come back and help Haiti. 10 years old. So I was like, value, I bet. Education. I got here, got 6 degrees,
Hmm.
6 degrees, but was still failing. Why? Because financial literacy starts at home.
Mhm.
If we're growing up and we're noticing that our parents are in sol or are doing boxes and dooms and sending cards to Haiti. Matter of fact, since I was a kid, my dad was like, oh, I for Haiti. Like, that's all of our dreams. But then turn around, we ended up seeing that our dreams end up being a disaster. But realistically, the power is now. Like, with what's happening with the country, that's outside of you. But then turn around, you are a seed. You could take the seed, just like Jason stated, you could take the seed, rather than eating your seed, take it and plant it.
Yeah.
Once you plant the seed, you're going to be able to harvest it. Then you're going to be able to pass on legacies. So my clients don't need to have $1 million. I'm not Jason.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't care if we got $10. We're gonna take that $10 and we're gonna multiply it. Why? Because I am a woman. My job is to be a support system. My job is to actually educate, empower others, so that way they could get from point one to 100. And then I'll send you to Jason. And then once you come to Jason,
Further height.
yeah, you multiply, and then I'll send you to Jim, and then Jim will show you how to multiply your business. But each one of us in the room, I want you guys to know that you are a seed. You could do two things. You could take the little small that you have and eat it, or you can start saying, I want my kids to have this. I want my kids to be able to do this. I want my, like, the way life is in this country, we're living in the greatest country in the world, the greatest country of the world. But then turn around, we cannot allow time to just keep on being wasted.
Correct. I agree with you, definitely, Rose. And so talking about this particular session here, we wanted to only give you some tangible tidbits you can take away from this session and go home and do something about it, right? And I love the fact that Rose is that if you have $10, you can do something. When I started in the industry, I was in my 20s. A friend from college got into financial planning, had studied finance, and I thought I was going to be working in banking. But she got into the industry as a financial advisor for the people. Maybe I should call you financial advisor for the people. Just like we have um, avocado pepper. And she said, you know what, have $100 to save. I can show you what to do so that when you are in this beautiful age you are right now, you can have the freedom. And she taught me about a lot of things and all the four things here that we have. So we have talked about it. Jason is gonna add that. What are some of the four ways that we have discussed? As financial advisors, like every one of you can take with you and start implementing. You said about savings and investing.
Correct.
To tackle that.
Well, what's the best? Okay, as being a scholar, you learn that a lot of things. You learn the square root of a whole bunch of numbers.
Yeah.
You learn a whole bunch of signs and so on. But then turn around, the wealth formula is one of the biggest secrets that you guys should. Matter of fact,
It's not a secret after all.
well, it is a secret.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't know it. So grab a pen and paper, and we are going to give you guys the formula to actually achieve wealth.
Correct.
There's a formula for it.
Yeah.
You need money?
So let's just say, like, in terms of the four different ways that you can build wealth, we have talked about the savings and investing, home ownership, life insurance, and business ownership. So in talking about that, you said there is a wealth formula. Let's
Correct.
talk about the wealth formula then.
Perfect. Oh,
Yes.
I think I jumped over your
Yes,
slide.
you jumped.
I'm so sorry. I jumped over your slide.
You're good.
Was excited.
Well,
Yes.
it's an oak tree.
Yes.
Yes, it's money plus time plus a minus rate of return. Minus inflation. Keep in mind of inflation right now. Minus taxation, and then that's how you achieve wealth.
And we did talk about procrastination because at the end of the day,
The time is now.
the time is always now.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, Jason, you said that you saw two different clients. One couple was a white couple, and they seemed to have done it right, and the other were a little too careless with money because they were not multiplying the assets. So, I mean, this is basic, but again, not everybody knows about it. Do you use the same type of formula for your $1 million client?
Yeah, and I don't only have $1 million clients. I have clients that they had a little bit of less, a little less, and I brought them on board.
Yeah.
So one thing that I'll say is how many business owners do we have in here? By a raise of hands. Okay, so we have a few business owners. Um, how many of you are growing your business, your client base through acquisition? Anyone here? Okay. Does anyone? Okay. Good question. Yeah, yeah, very good question. All right, so let me just kind of take a step back. Before I joined Merrill Lynch, and joined Private Wealth, I was in something called private equity. It was a Jamaican-owned private equity firm here in Atlanta, where and private equity is just simply as you flip homes, private equity flips businesses. So
Correct.
we bought companies between 50 million to 250 million dollars in revenue. We would take the majority stake, grow it, and then do an exit, right? So so for example, we bought a company, it was a cybersecurity company, we bought it for about 162 million, and then we sold it for 10 times multiple for 648 million to Dell Technologies, it was a cybersecurity company. So I say that because a lot of my clients are first generation wealth creators.
Hmm.
And so when you're in your business, what are you guys trying to do? You're trying to get new deals, you're trying to acquire new customers organically, right? By word of mouth, by advertising. But what I tell my clients to do, and you guys should be writing this down, is to look at acquisitions.
Yeah.
So you find business brokers who are connected with business owners that are looking to sell their business. And that business can either be a competitor of yours or it could be a complement. And just like home ownership, right? When you go to purchase a home, there's a certain percentage that you have to put down in cash, which is what? Equity,
Hmm.
and then the rest is financed, correct? By the bank. Same thing with an acquisition of a company. There is a certain amount that needs to get, through cash, and then you got to do the rest of the financing through a bank. So I say that because that is one of the formulas for wealth is to acquire other companies that could be either your same size or smaller than you. Now you have this company that's growing through revenue, and then guess what you can do? You can sell that company after a certain period of time. Now these are big numbers, but I had a client that did exactly what I'm saying. He retired at 51. He sold his company for $32 million. All right, and it's not far fetched. I see people selling their dry cleaners, selling their laundromat, selling their trucking company, and getting a $6 to $7 million liquidity event where you have this cash, and now you can take this cash and do it all over again. So I always tell this to the black community because we're very familiar with growing organically, but not growing through acquisition. Yes, sir.
Correct.
Again,
We're not ready yet for questions. I would
that's
like to,
all.
yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna get there, but Jason is talking at a very, somewhat high level, and many of his clients are not perhaps here in terms of like assets, the asset under management or the value. I said many, I'm just saying many of his clients. I'm not not all of them. I said many of his clients are not here.
So let
We
me
do have younger,
let me just
yeah,
clear that up. Let me just
yeah,
clear that up. This is why I asked, is anyone a business owner in here?
correct,
Anyone in here can do what I just said. Anybody. You don't have to be an asset level. This
correct,
right. So if you have a a dry cleaners or chicken coop, it doesn't matter, right? And you're doing say $100,000 in annual revenue, and there's another chicken coop that's doing maybe $20,000 in annual revenue. You can get with that other chicken coop and say, hey, I'll buy you out. I'll buy you out. Now you just went from 100,000 to 120,000. Anybody can do it here,
correct.
but you have to be, this is about the duplication of your business,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
I just want to say,
definitely. We are in there, but at the end of the day, too, the topic today is about, retirement planning and asset accumulation and wealth building. And we are, in my opinion, this topic is very relevant for young professionals, folks who are young couples who are looking to learn how money works and how money can work for them. And once you get to a point where you have built a business and you have accumulated enough assets, a lot of strategies that Jason is sharing with you, those are strategies that you have to employ because if you don't, you're gonna get stagnant. You don't want to be stagnant, right? So at the end of the day, we talk about the formula. But for those of you, it's the first dollar. The first dollar is very important. For those families who have not started the wealth planning or the wealth building strategy, where do they start? How do they start? And how do they get started? Can you share that with us, please, James?
Well, number one, they need to really decide to take responsibility of their finance, meaning that they have to become curious and to learn how money works. One of the things I normally see with people is They say, I want to make money. I want to be rich. Then you ask, what book have you read? Zero. How many hours a week you spend learning about finance? Zero. It's never going to happen without you building the skill. So to me, because to make money, the very first thing is you got to learn how to create income.
Correct.
A real first thing. So that's why I'm telling young people, what are you got to create income, whether it's for a business or getting skills that can give you income. You need income to start the conversation. There are some jobs you're doing, there are some payments you're getting. It's gonna be a very long time for you to build anything. So, Kawat, what skill do I need to increase
Yeah.
my income?
So you feel like you need income, you need a seed.
You need to,
Rose just mentioned that you need a seed, you need to have something that you can sow. Because in the good book talks about sowing a seed and then you reap a harvest.
yes.
But you also see that you are in you from Haiti. You know, you had trees behind your house. I remember we had a mango tree, right? So it's then the next day you're expecting a harvest. No.
No.
It takes time, right? Rose?
It
It
does.
takes time, right?
Correct.
Not only time, but also rate of return. Can you elaborate a little bit about time and rate of return?
So with time and rate of return, you have to be patient. Even with the seed, with the whole apple tree, I always inform a person, don't get me wrong, having an employer is good. But then turn around, I truly feel as if we're like a mango tree that's been planted inside of a bucket. So what ends up happening is the full potential. And the person needs to have patience. Why? Because you can't plant an apple tree today and think in like 2 weeks you're gonna get apples. So
Correct.
you have to be realistic. But then at the end of the day, with the rate of return, you need to make sure that you're beating inflation. Because anywhere that you're putting your money and you're not beating inflation, it's like one step forward, two steps backwards.
Correct.
But then in the same time, it starts with education. Because you will notice that that's the same thing all three of us are saying. Education, education, start a business. The reason being is because once you do that, even with Jason, I'm like a human calculator. I'm making my brain work as to what he just stated. Any business that you have, you could always sell it and make a whole lot of money. And it doesn't matter how big or how small the business is. Somebody out there need what you're doing.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Just have be patient.
Yeah.
Can I just piggyback on what Rose just said about the rate of return and beating inflation? Okay. If someone could just pull out their calculator just really quickly, anybody, just pull out your calculator. Okay. In 1999, Amazon did its IPO. What's an IPO? When it first debuts on the stock exchange, it was $20 a share. All right. How much should we do? Should we do $1,000 or 5,000? What should we do? I'm asking you guys.
1,000.
A
A
thousand.
thousand.
Okay. Do 1,000 divided by 20. How many shares did you get? 50 shares. Just before Amazon did its stock split, it was about $3,400 per share.
Hmm.
Take that 50 times it by 3,400. How much do we have? So your $1,000 in 1999 would have been how much? $170,000 just before the stock split about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I just
So
think
many of us do think sometimes, inflation doesn't apply to you. Inflation is a silent thief. It applies to everybody. So that's why, again, going back to what Rose was saying, you have to invest in financial vehicles that will outpace inflation. But I know we from a community where everybody is so skeptical. That's why procrastination is part of the formula. Very skeptical. I don't want to invest money in this. I don't want to invest money in that. Or I'll save, but I'll save it. I spent 10 years in banking, and I remember seeing my clients, many of them who looked at me, you're like, oh, you have $100,000 in your passbook account. Yes, I don't want to touch it. It's for my retirement, but you're not retired for another 20 years. Why don't you hire someone? Again, going back to why it's important to hire a financial advisor. Why don't you hire someone like Jason? have approach like games, and have advice for the people. Like, oh, sit down with you and explain some of the options so that, yes, you don't put all your eggs in one basket, but you exercise the option to outpace inflation. Because if you don't, at the end of the day, you're going to have the dream and the goals and be able to do the. Oh, let's just mention, if you do not do what you need to do, guess who doesn't care? Uncle Sam and Uncle Charlie, right? Can we talk about that? I know, yeah, today we're talking about taxation and how tax everyone. On the 15th of April, do you all do the taxes? Now, do you want to pay tax now, tax later, or tax never? Because when you're building wealth, you have to understand that too. Jason, yeah,
I would ask by a show of hands, because I love audience participation, by a show of hands, who has their will done in here? By a show of hands.
great.
All right. Out of those, and that's not enough. And now who has done their trust in estate planning? Okay. Do you understand
Wow.
Michael Jackson, Prince, and
Hmm.
Aretha? Was it Aretha Franklin?
Yes, Arita,
When they all passed away, who seized their assets? Does anyone know? Because they didn't have a trust.
the government.
The government. Okay. Yeah. So I have a quick story that a long story I'm going to make very short. I had a young lady, black female. She was a client of mine. She was 36 years old, graduate magna cum laude from Yale, worked for Goldman Sachs Investment Bank in New York City on Wall Street. She quit Goldman Sachs, and her and her partner, who was also African American, they went and started their own private equity company. They were buying companies between 200 to 700 million dollars in revenue. Very good. She was a client for 2 years. Finally, she called me up on a Monday and she said, Jason, we finally closed on our 10th company. She had about 7 million with me invested. We closed on our 10th company. I'm ready to finally do my trust and estate planning.
Hmm.
I said, perfect. It was for that Friday. The Friday, she didn't come on the Zoom. I was like, this is very weird. This is not like her. She's very punctual. Called her, she didn't pick up. Texted her, she didn't respond. This is okay, whatever. Something might have happened. I don't know. Saturday morning at 7:30 in the morning, her mother called me, who was from Alabama, 70 years old, screaming on the phone with her uncle. She had died in that week. She had lupus. I'm sorry. She had sickle cell. She caught COVID. She died in 1 week.
Yeah,
Okay, that's not the kicker. The kicker is, guess who sees the 7 million that was with me in her assets probate court.
probate.
So now I had to get an attorney that I work with, help the 70-something-year-old mother with the family to fight probate, and it wasn't easy. But here's the real kicker to that. Guess who got half of everything?
Uncle Sam,
Who?
The
Uncle
lawyers.
Sam.
No, not the
government.
lawyer.
The
Not the
government.
lawyer. Not the government.
Probate.
Anybody want to guess?
Excellent.
Her. No, she was never married. No kids. Her estranged father
Husband.
who walked out of her life when her mother was still pregnant.
Yeah,
He got half of everything
yeah,
because she failed to get her will and trust and estate planning
yeah,
done. So I'm just going to leave that.
Well,
yeah. You,
but I'll tell you one thing though, even a more interesting story. I think she had millions she knows. Well, we also have a story of someone who had no money at all, and they happened to be crossing the street and actually got killed by one of the big trucks from a huge company and ended up having $5 million of settlement. But there were no trusts, there were no will.
Even worse.
So
yeah,
now everything was thrown away. So even people who has no money at all, like that was somebody who had zero money. You might be broke in life and die with rich,
yeah,
and suddenly. So this to tell you that even the person who's broke need to get those things in order.
yeah.
You guys have to get that
Definitely.
done.
And it's not
Yeah,
expensive.
yeah, when you're building your house, you have to do foundationally. You
Correct.
do have to think about it. We all seen a house being built. We have general contractors here. There are things that you need to do, and each steps that you go up the ladder, you gotta add more things. And for me, when I speak to my clients, I tell them, do you have a child? It may not be money, but if you have a child, you wanna have a guardian. So have your will done. Because that's one of the places, and I believe in most cases, the only place where you can appoint a guardian. If you are a single mom, who's gonna take care of little Joey or little Joseph if something happens to you? Don't assume, because I had a client, she was 43 years old. Her dad was already gone. She was with her mom, but her and her mom were very close, right? Lovey-dovey. She died during COVID at 43. Now she had a life insurance because I had encouraged her to have a life insurance. And her mom died after her. Her mom actually was one who received the benefits. But guess what? 6 months later, mom died of just depression, sadness. And she had a child 18 years old. Okay, so when you have a child, you need to have beneficiaries, and you also need to have people who can be guardian for your kids. So Uncle Sam, we did talk about Uncle Sam. We don't have much time.
Then we should let them question. We only have 5 minutes.
Yeah. So we don't have enough time for this session here. It's really empowering. I would encourage you to go back to our first question. You all need to work with a financial advisor. If you are here, if you can take away one thing, there's so much that you could learn. You see this rainy day, do not procrastinate, in order for you to build your wealth and pass on a legacy to your children and your children's children. As a believer, I learned a long time ago from my parents. A wise man. Are you a wise man or woman? You leave an inheritance for your kid and your kids' kids, your children's children. But you don't want to leave an inheritance of fight. I've had people lost in my family, and people, those who were left behind were fighting for the money. And you don't want that. So you got a plan, speak to a financial advisor. So we have some time for questions. How many questions do we have here today? Can come close, please.
Correct.
Correct.
Mhm.
We talk about tithes and offerings too, but we don't talk.
Ah,
Yes.
there's that one. Mhm. Mindset.
Correct.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
I
Yeah.
like that.
Definitely. That's why I do the show. Let's talk money.
I,
Let's talk money with friends. Follow me on social media.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We need to have those conversations. Go ahead.
That was very.
I wanted to add something to what he says.
Hold on.
No,
Go ahead. Let him talk. Okay. Go ahead.
how, what?
How, what exactly?
A real one.
I love it. Yeah, I, I'll say this. Yeah, I'll say this. So one of the smartest guys is a guy by the name of Dr. Ben Carson, and he separated Siamese twins. But when his sink broke, he doesn't pull out a scalpel, right? He calls the expert. He calls a plumber. So it's not about how intelligent you are; it's about the information and you executing on that. So the first thing I would say,
Execution.
yep, the first thing I would say is have an advisor, a wealth advisor, create a plan for you, right? And that's what my team and I do. Do not pay an advisor to create a plan. Anyone that comes to you and says, I'm going to charge you 5,000, 10,000 to create a plan, run. okay?
Fraud.
Work with an advisor with a reputable institution, whether that's Merrill Lynch, whether that's Morgan Stanley, whether that's Edward Jones, whether that's Charles Schwab, whatever floats your boat. As long as they're a fiduciary, right? You have to ask them these two things. You might want to write this down. Are you Series 7 registered?
But that's for investment.
Yeah, and are you
But with investment, wait a minute, you have to talk about risk when it comes to investment.
correct?
So with investment, they take your money and they put it inside the market, right? You could gain money, but at the same time you can,
You can lose it. So that's why
okay,
that's why you need a plan. Okay,
Yeah.
so you need a plan, right? And I don't know how old are you? I'm sorry, within a range.
25.
So okay, so here's the thing. The question you have to ask yourself is how many years before you retire,
Not much time.
right? And then there's five. I'm going into detail, but
Mhm,
there's five risk tolerances. There's aggressive, there's
mhm.
moderately aggressive, moderately conservative, and conservative. And depending on where you are in life, how many years before you retire, you're going to fit in one of these buckets.
Yeah.
And obviously, the conservative is the majority bond, so it has less risk. Aggressive could be 100% stock. That's where I am. All my money's in stock because I'm not retiring until I'm 70, 75 years old.
Can I just say something that, one of the reasons why financial planning is so difficult, one of the reasons why financial planning is so difficult is because it can be very complicated for those who are not speaking the language every day. And I got into financial planning so that I could speak the language that everyday people can understand. So I would encourage each one of you to sit down with someone who can speak a language that you can understand. Build a trusting relationship with a financial advisor that you can understand and make decisions not based on fear, but based on knowledge. And also, as you trust in your advisor, learn so that you can be empowered to be a partner, not just someone who say yes, whatever you said. Go ahead. We have a question in the front here.
I was gonna say that brings back, and I think
Yeah.
it brings back to what the gentleman said. If you have conversations about money,
Correct.
fear goes away because they just start getting comfortable, right?
Correct.
Exactly.
So it's always having especially with black people, I have that conversation. I have a lot of Korean and Arab, they talk about money, like they talk
Of course.
Correct.
they have popcorn and they talk about it, they know the numbers, they know inflation, they know what my prospectus look like, they know
Correct.
everything, right?
Correct.
It's not about knowing how much money you have, how much money you don't have. It's a matter of how you can
Conversation.
So,
And reading some books.
and
We have
Yeah.
Yeah, we have someone in the back. Definitely read some books. Money matters. Yes.
Go ahead, beautiful lady.
Can you stand up so we can all hear you? Correct.
Mhm.
Correct. Life events. Yeah. Yeah. And if you notice that working with a financial advisor holds you accountable,
Correct.
you need someone to help you be accountable to your plan so that you check on it. I talk about financial checkup, just like you do your physical checkup, you need financial checkup.
And the last thing I'll say,
Yeah.
I think that everyone here needs to come to one of us three
Correct.
and have a conversation.
Correct.
All right.
And please follow me online.
That's the next steps for you guys.
We do. Let's talk money. Yeah, definitely. You need to start talking about money. Just like nous parler créole, nous besoin qu'on parle finance, pas qu'on parle créole. Okay? Power d'argent. Let's talk money with friends. You all are my friends. Follow me online. These folks here, they have great resources. Follow me online. You don't have to be my clients, but you'll have a conversation because the conversation that I have will be relevant for you and your family.
I want to say something for those of you who like you have fear. Anytime you're afraid, you have fear, it's an invitation of something you need to learn.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That means it's because you don't have any information. Because when you have information, you become powerful. Fear no longer in your space. So I just want to encourage everyone. Money is complicated. And we cannot even give you any advice to do step one, two, three, because there are so many things that need to be taken into consideration. What are you trying to do? What life needs to look like for you? If one of us, so many, that's why it's important to really go to the professional and also doing your homework so that when they tell you we're going to do this, you know what question to ask. And today's age of YouTube, You split a lot of videos of cat laughing videos and jokes and all night. To me, anyone who has not taken the time to understand money is really asking for a very, very difficult life.
Exactly.
So take the time,
Not
not for you, for your
for your
children,
children, your
for
children.
everyone else. So everyone is your responsibility. And you
Yeah.
say it here. And to go back to the conversation we are having earlier about what's happening to Haitians and our society, the way we're being treated. Believe me, you are being treated because you don't understand money.
Correct.
If we had economic power, if we had learned how to do businesses that hire a lot of people, if we are moving companies, no one would have spoken to us the way they do. No one would to the Jews that way. They have economic power. Until you understand money and be able to build wealth and build legacy, we will still be disrespected. When you die, you leave nothing, no life experience for your children.
Yeah.
You earn no respect.
Exactly.
So it's about creating.
When you can speak to Rose, if you're in Boston, speak to me, you can have that. And guess what? I'll just tell you one quick story. This young girl, she was 23 years old, struggling. Her grandmother died and left a policy. And as soon as she left that policy, $500,000, she was able to hire someone like Jason to help her out. Now she's in a much better situation. So let's leave a legacy for our kids. Let's be remembered. You know the Kennedys? They remember Joe Kennedy from years ago. Some of you don't even know your grandparents' name. My grandfather died at 104. I say that all the time, but guess what? Likite pour moi, rien n'a été, but
My gun left me a tear. My gun left me a tear and a
Give
horse.
it tonight, but that's about it. But okay, again, we want to thank all of you for being here, and we want to thank all of our panelists for being here. Keep having the conversation. Money matters. Let's.